What is that?
Oh, it's a new prime lens from Hasselblad.
Oh, that's nice. Why have they sent that to you then?
Well, they want me to do a review on it.
A review?
Yeah.
You?
Yeah. I'm not very good at astrophotography.
Oh, that's what it's for, astro.
That's what they say.
I used to sort of specialise in astro for a few years there. I mean, I could do this review for you.
I don't know. I should probably do it.
There's a bag of popcorn in it for you.
What kind?
Toffee.
Sold.
Right, let's have a look at this beauty. Oh, that's a nice piece of glass, is that, isn't it? It's got some good girth to it too.
So what's it all about then? Well, it's a 25mm prime lens for Hasselblad's medium format, with an aperture range of f2.5 to f32. Hasselblad suggests it's great for night sky, wide-angle portraits and landscape photography. It's got one of those push-pull focus rings so that you can switch between manual focus and autofocus, and you can choose to have either a smooth aperture ring or a clicky one.
So while Amanda's stuffing her face with toffee popcorn, I'm going to talk you through this lens and what I'm going to do with it. This is my plan. So I want to go to meet Cove and get a shot of the galactic core rising just over the mountain there. Problem is, up here in the northern hemisphere, this time of year, you won't see that until 4 o'clock in the morning. So we've got to get up at 2.
What?
Yeah. Well, you don't have to, I do, but, you know, I've got to get the shot. You could stay in bed if you wanted. So with this lens, the XCD 25V, Hasselblad are claiming that it's a really good astrophotography lens, which you know I love a bit of Milky Way action from time to time. And with this, there are 3 different methods that you can use to focus the lens to get perfectly sharp stars. I haven't used either of them yet, but I'm going to try them tonight. I think though that I should try and dial it in first on the camera before I get there, because you know I'm going to be stumbling around on a cliff edge in the dark with vertigo. You know, it's probably not a good combo. So I'm going to try and get as much prep done as I can. So I'll show you the camera and explain what I'm going to do here. All right, so if you look on the manual focus ring here, you should be able to see this Möbius loop, the symbol for infinity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually turn that to there so that it's lining up with this red line, and that is telling me that I am now focused to infinity. Now this method, it doesn't work on every single lens. It just depends on the lens. And I don't even know if it works on this one yet. I guess I'll find out tonight when I test it. But that is the most lo-fi, simple and easy way to do it. And the thing with this is you never really know just how accurate that is, because it's just you eyeballing something as you turn a wheel. So who knows if it's that accurate. But Hasselblad have got a pretty cool way of actually making sure that you focus to infinity. I'll just show you this on the back of the camera. Right, love, so what I need you to do is grab this focus wheel here, this one here, and then just shove it. Right, so you pushed it now into autofocus mode. So that's manual, push it down, and now it's in autofocus mode. Right, so what you do now to get into infinity, hit this button here so that I can see all of my overlays until you get this depth of field scale. I don't know if that's what Hasselblad calls it, but you see this Möbius loop here signifying infinity, where you just get your meter digit, jab that, hold it down until it goes green. So now the lens supposedly is focused to infinity, and if I was to push down the shutter button, it doesn't refocus. And if that works, that is now focused perfectly for the stars, and I can pack this up, put it in my camera bag, and when I get on location, in theory, I should be able to put it out, put it on the tripod, and get perfectly sharp stars.
Even I could do it.
You could. Well, we'll see. I haven't tested it yet, but that's what Hasselblad is claiming, so I think you could. Right, well, what time is it?
It's about 6.
I better get to bed then, eh? Because I'm getting up at 2.
Yeah.
Oh, I almost forgot. I did say that there were 3 methods of focusing, and the third method, which is foolproof really if you've got a good lens, is just to focus manually in live view on the brightest star in the sky. But of course I can't do that right now because it's daytime, so I will try that tonight, and I'll compare all 3 methods and we'll see which one works best to give me a quick and perfect result. Well, it's 6:30 p.m. And I don't think I'm going to sleep, to be quite honest. I'm wide awake. What about you?
I'm wide awake.
Yeah.
Well, you know what always does put me to sleep?
What?
Reading Chasing Awe with Gavin Hardcastle.
No, you don't. You like it though, don't you? Really?
Yeah, it's soothing, all the pictures.
Yeah. There's probably only about, by the time this video goes out, I'm going to say 30 to 40 copies left of that book. And then it's gone forever, never to be reprinted.
Whoa.
Sad, isn't it, really? It's going to be the end of an era. No more gratuitous book plugs like this. Book plugs, I said.
But you've got a new book coming out.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be plugging that the same way that I plugged this. I mean, that would just be out of order.
Out of order indeed. Although it would be more out of order if I didn't remind you that the special pre-order deal that's on right now is going to end in a couple of weeks once the books arrive at Fototripper HQ. There's a link in the description.
Alright, I'll turn the light out and we'll get to bed. Oh, it's still bright. Well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I've had, I think, 18 minutes of sleep. And I do have a face like a retired heavyweight boxer who lost every single fight that he ever had. But I'm quite happy because the skies are absolutely crystal clear. There's tons of stars out. And we're headed to meet Cove.
Wait, Cove.
Are you going to flip it round and do that?
No.
I think the audience wants to see your crozzled features.
No.
God, fair enough.
Hey.
Well, I made it to the Meet Cove campground, which is obviously closed for the season. And I thought that there'd probably be all kinds of campers here, ready for the eclipse. By the way, if you're watching this video, you're probably watching it about a month after I filmed my eclipse video. So if you want to watch that, I'll put a link in the description and up here so you can watch that. But yeah, I thought that it would be thronging with people, and there's nobody here. Can you hear my feet crunching through the icy grass? Anyway, I'm the only car up here, and it's absolutely mystical tonight with the stars and the mist. I can't show it you because it's pitch black, but in fact I can't even see the camera. Anyway, I'm going to find a spot just down here, set up, take a few test shots, and then I'll talk you through what's going on with the camera.
I'll be completely honest with you. My trip to Meet Cove at 3 AM proved to be a waste of time because there was too much light pollution and lots of wind noise. So what did I do? Well, I made another trip to somewhere much nicer.
Alright, so it's 2 nights later, and I just felt like I had to redo this because I was really struggling the other night. I had vertigo, I was on a cliff edge, it was absolutely freezing. And so tonight promised to be a much warmer night, no wind, and absolutely crystal clear skies. So I've come out to a local haunt that I think is going to deliver the goods. I've framed up a fairly decent composition, it's a vertical. So what I'm going to do is film the back of the camera, show you how I'm going to get this shot once the galactic core pops up. With regards to the settings, I've got ISO 3200, I've got a 10-second exposure because I want sharp, pin sharp stars without a smudge. Aperture of f2.5, so I'm shooting it wide open. And I've got a 10-second timer on right now. I'll probably change that to a 2-second timer. It's just because I was doing a stupid selfie. With regards to the composition, I've been playing around with this. This fence is my foreground, and then obviously the galactic core will pop up, I'm hoping, right above that. So I'll play with that a little bit. I might put myself in the shot, but of course with an aperture of f2.5 on a medium format, if you're even that close, which is about 16 feet away, it's going to be blurred. You would have to focus stack to get everything sharp. But that's the idea. I've just got to wait for that galactic core to pop up.
And pop up it did, right on time. So what you seeing here with the finished image is a 10-second exposure for the sky, and I also took a 400-second exposure for everything below the horizon, and then just blended them together in Photoshop. Alright, so let's do a bit of pixel peeping and see if this lens is actually any good for astrophotography. So I've got some raw files loaded up here, and I'll show you this one first. This one's shot at f2.5. It's a 10-second exposure. So I'll double click on this one, we'll launch this one, and I'll zoom right in so that we can see what these stars look like. So the stars look very sharp in the center of the frame, but the thing that people tend to look for, I'll just push out to the edges of the frame, there's two things. There's coma and astigmatism. So if you look at the stars here, they're not like they were in the center of the frame. There is some coma and astigmatism. Coma is where you get kind of a smudged comet shape, and astigmatism is where you get these kind of spiky bits that stick out. It kind of looks like a bow tie. So there is a bit of coma and astigmatism going on there, which I pretty much expected there would be when shooting wide open, but it's definitely not bad. I've seen far, far worse. Having said that, this ain't a cheap lens. So let's look over on the other side. So now I'm looking at the left part of the frame, and yeah, you can see a bit of coma and astigmatism there, but it really isn't terrible considering that you're shooting at the equivalent of an f1.8 is what it would be on a full frame. Now, when I do astrophotography, I shoot an assortment of different apertures and different shutter speeds and different ISOs. Typically, when I'm shooting for a sky, I don't shoot wide open. I usually stop down a little bit. So I'll show you this other frame that I captured. This is sort of like my typical routine when I'm shooting nightscapes like this. So this one was shot at f3.2, still 10 seconds. So I'll double click on that and we'll have a look. Look how sharp that is, but what's it like in the corners? We know it's going to be sharp in the middle. Let's get out to the corners and see what that coma and astigmatism looks like. And it really is not bad at all. You know, this is a wide lens. It's a wide lens with a big medium format frame. That's a lot of coverage, and that looks pretty good to me. Let's go over to the other side. Oh yeah, I can live with that. Those are still fairly round. So the coma and the astigmatism is really not bad at all when shooting at f3.2. And of course, in the center of the frame, it's absolutely razor sharp. Another thing that people tend to look at when they're shopping for an astrophotography lens is spherical aberration, where you get a nice pleasing glow around a star, kind of like you can see there. But I don't know if I can attribute that to the lens itself or if it's just the atmospherics, because it was a very atmospheric night. I mean, look at that. It almost looks like I got some aurora there. Absolutely gorgeous. And then the last thing I wanted to check was how badly does it vignette? Because whenever you shoot in wide open, you're gonna get a vignette. You just have to accept that. But when it comes to astrophotography, the problem is if it vignettes badly, well, you're gonna have to brighten up that dark edge of the frame, and that's gonna bring out the noise. So that looks pretty amazing in terms of vignetting to me. So you can see in the top corners of the frame, there is a bit of vignetting there, but it's really not bad at all. So after I'd got these standard galactic core Milky Way astrophotography shots with the camera and this lens, the next thing I wanted to try with this XCD 25V lens, and in particular the X2D camera, is a 1 hour exposure. Because this camera will let you do, I think it's 1 hour and 8 minutes. Whereas pretty much all other camera systems, they'll let you do 30 seconds. Then you've got to put it in bulb mode, or you've got to get an intervalometer or whatever. This camera will let you do an exposure that's over 1 hour. So I thought, why not? Let's see how it looks. And this is what I got. So how have I managed to get this image to look so sharp and so clean? Well, it's because, I mean, aside from the fact that it's a 1 hour exposure, I shot at f8. I stopped down my aperture to f8. So I've got loads more sharpness and loads more depth of field. And because it's a 1 hour exposure, even though there's hardly any light out there, it's spending an hour sucking in all of that light. Now, of course, I used quite a lot of noise reduction to get rid of the noise, but the detail and the sharpness is still there. And this is just one frame that you're looking at. I didn't do any light painting. It's just that the available light that was happening during that 1 hour exposure, I think it turned out pretty good.
All right, so now I want to do a bokeh test, because let me just show you this scene. This is the kind of thing that I always wanted, is a wide angle lens that had a very wide aperture and a delicious bokeh, so that you could take a shot of something like this and have the background blurred out. Now, of course, it's not going to be the same as something like an 85mm or anything like that that you'd use for portraiture, but still, with this lens, I would like to have a nice background blur on that, so that this root system and these two trees pop against that blurry background. We'll see. So you've always wondered what Amanda's photography is like. So she's going to take this shot. Well, that looks pretty good. So what are you focusing on there?
The tree roots.
The roots.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks pretty good. So here's Amanda's shot.
That's all well and good, but the true bokeh test is a nice shot of Leo.
Alright, so after doing quite a few challenging shoots with this lens, overall I would say that it was really good for its intended purpose, and the bokeh shooting wide open with this lens is probably the most pleasing bokeh that I've seen on a medium format lens that is wide angle. As for night sky photography, it did brilliantly in dark sky areas, and whichever of the three focusing methods I used to focus on a star, I was able to get sharp stars. But in the end, I found it so easy to use that touchscreen infinity focus method that I just tended to stick to that by default. Now, the one complaint that I do have about this lens is that whenever I was shooting at night with an artificial light source in the frame, I would get lens flare, like you can see in this image here. And so for such an expensive lens, I would have liked to have seen that controlled a bit better. But overall, it was an absolute joy to use, and I don't think we should give it back.
I don't think we should either.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it is nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Smooth.
Let's do it again. I mean, I've been massaging it for 2 whole minutes and now you're slapping it. All right. I could... That's got some girth to it, that, isn't it?